Lovely, we're all in?
Yes.
Super. Okay, thank you. Good morning all. Welcome to Settlement Council's licensing panel. I will now hand you over to the committee manager, Mr. Taylor.
Please note that this meeting has been recorded and a copy of the recording will be available on the Council's YouTube channel in the next few days. All attendees should, where possible, have their video on, but remain muted until invited to speak. If you wish to attract the Chairman's attention, please, if you're able to, make use of the instant messaging function. All members of the press and public will remain muted and the format of the meeting will be as per the agenda published. Over to you, Chairman.
Thank you very much. Right, I'm going to start off just with the sort of housekeeping with introducing ourselves and just checking that everyone can see and hear us. So I'll start with myself. Good morning. I am Councillor Polly Costello, District Councillor for the ward of Wedmore and Mark, and I'm the Chairman of the Licensing and Gambling Committee. I can see and hear everybody. Let's start now with Councillor Murphy.
Line is not clear.
Hello. Hello. Councillor Murphy.
Hello.
Hello. Would you like to introduce yourself and just confirm you can see and hear?
Hello, my name is Councillor Mike Murphy. I'm representing Burnham North, and I can see and hear you.
Lovely, thank you. Councillor Redman.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Councillor Redman. I represent one of the wards in Bridgewater. I can see and hear everything. Thank you.
Lovely, thank you. Councillor Glassford.
I think Councillor Glassford is left the meeting. He's no longer required.
Okay, super duper. I'll cross him off. Who will start with now? Mr. Taylor.
Yes, I'm Steve Taylor. I'm the committee manager.
Lovely,
and I can see and hear. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I've got the applicant, Mr. Krishna Pillai.
Yes, his line is not clear. I don't understand.
Oh, the line's not clear. Can you hear us okay?
Hello.
Hello, can you hear us okay? This is going to go well.
I'm not hearing. Hello?
You're not hearing?
Yes. No.
Okay, so you can or you can't hear us?
Can you hear us, Mr. Krishnapali?
Yes, it's okay now, yeah.
Great,
okay, thank
super.
you.
We're just introducing ourselves. Thank you very much. Mr. Baller.
Yeah, good morning, everybody. I'm Simon Baller. I'm the Licensing Officer for Sedgman City Council.
No, sir. I'm
Sorry.
It's a double. It's coming words with double. It's not, line is not clear.
Right. Can we call him back, Steve?
Yes, I think, Mr. Krishnapali, we'll try removing you from the meeting, and if we get you to rejoin the meeting, perhaps. Okay, we'll call you back again. Okay, sir.
Okay, sir. Okay.
Shall I carry on with everyone else, Steve?
Just hold fire if you would, gentlemen. Will
Okay.
Handy.
Yeah,
I'll try. No, I'll try get him.
if he puts his phone down, it's hard to get him back when he's still got his phone live.
Oh, yeah.
He's trying to get back in now. I'm trying to get him back in.
He's not left, Steve, so he's still in here. I think you can kind of manually kick out.
I'll remove him from the meeting yet.
Maybe this is a sign of things to come for today.
Did you want to try to get him again, please, Simon?
Yeah, maybe we could in future lend them a computer if they haven't got one. Is that an idea?
It's a possibility, but a bit awkward.
Yeah.
I think some of the problem might have been that he may have had us on speaker, because what happens then, the phone will recirculate the sound.
Feedback.
All right, let's ring in.
Hello?
Mr. Krishnapali, it's the licensing panel again.
No.
Hello?
Can you
Hello?
hear me?
Yes, sir. Yeah.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
So
It's fine now.
you're back in the meeting now. So I've just
Yes,
introduced
sir.
myself. Yeah, I'm the licensed
yeah.
officer. I'm not.
Yeah.
Okay.
Lovely, thank you. Legal representatives, Mr. Osborne,
Yeah, morning. Nigel Osborne, legal advisor to the panel today.
Miss Webber,
Good morning. My name's Emily Webber, and I'm the legal apprentice for the council, and I can see and hear you.
brilliant. You can see and hear us obviously to Mr. Osborne, yeah?
Yes, sorry, Jim.
I've got next Nicola Cooper.
Good morning, Nicola Cooper, Police Licensing Officer, Avon and Somerset Police. I can see and hear you.
And then I've got Kathy Surtees.
Good morning, I'm Catherine Surtees. I work for Trading Standards as a technical officer.
Catherine, I've got you down as Kathy. I've got you, Catherine. Thank you. Who else have I got here? I did have two others on my screen, but I don't know who they are.
Jay Capel from Trading Standards.
Okay. Jay,
Richard
are
Noakes.
you there?
Good morning, I'm Jo Capel from Devon, Somerset and Torbay Trading Standards. I'm a lead Trading Standards officer and I can see and hear everybody.
Lovely. And then there's one other, but I think, is that just an observer?
That's right, Chairman.
Super. Great. Thank you for that. Right, we'll crack on with our agenda now. Item number 1, apologies for absence. I guess there are none.
None, Chairman.
Any urgent business?
No, Chairman.
Item number 3, declarations of interest. Do we have any? No.
That's a no.
Super. And item number 4, 77B Bath Road. We're here today to consider an application for a new premises licence in respect of 77B Bath Road, Bridgewater, following objections having been received. So we'll head to you now, Mr. Baller. Would you like to present to us? Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. Mr. Krishnapalli, can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Okay, I'm just going to do an appraisal of the report so you understand exactly where we are, okay?
Yes.
So on the 2nd of October 2020, an application for a new premises licence in respect of 77B Bath Road, Bridgewater, Somerset, TA6 4PN was received from Mr. Umishan Krishnapalli.
Yes.
Yeah. The application seeks authorization for the following licensable activities, and that is the sale and supply of alcohol from 0600 hours to midnight on a daily basis off the premises only. So there is a redacted copy for everybody at Appendix A of your application. Yes. The applicant does have a personal licence issued by Sedgemoor District Council in 2019 and currently is the premises licence holder of another premises and DPS of the Soshby Convenience Store, 32 North Street, Bridgewater, TA6 3PN. This premises transferred into the applicant's name on the 28th of July 2020. This licence application is currently for a new venture, which is a new convenience store, very similar to the one in North Street, and the venue is currently a vacant premises which sits between two takeaways known as Indian Cottage and Kebab Kitchen in Bath Road, Bridgewater. The initial premises licence application was submitted without the licensing objectives under Section K being completed by the applicant, and this was later pointed out to the applicant by the Police Licensing Officer Nicola Cooper on the 7th of October 2020, and the applicant then submitted a set of licensing objectives to Sedgemoor District Council Licensing Department on the 8th of October 2020. This is attached as Appendix B. A copy of the plan currently in existence for illustrative purposes is attached to Appendix C, and there's a more detailed plan shown at Appendix D. The current position is objections to the application have been received within the permitted time frame from two relevant authorities, that being the Trading Standards Service and Avon and Somerset Constabulary. The objectors are listed below next to the relevant appendix for each submission. First was Catherine Surtees, Technical Officer of Devon and Somerset and Torbay Trading Standards Service, that's at Appendix E, and Nicola Cooper representing Avon and Somerset Constabulary as a Licensed Officer at Appendix F. Ms. Surtees has submitted an objection under the licensing objective relating to the protection of children from harm, and Ms. Nicola Cooper has made representations highlighting concerns on all four of the licensing objectives. with reference to them all equally have a negative impact on the local community. So the options today for the panel are to grant the application as applied for, to grant the application with attached conditions, to grant the application in part, or to grant the application in part with attached conditions, or to refuse application altogether. The licensing officer has determined that the representations are relevant. It is therefore the duty of the panel to determine the application with a view to promoting the licensing objectives. And just as a reminder, that's the prevention of crime and disorder, public safety, the prevention of public nuisance, and the protection of children from harm. The issue for the panel is whether the application as submitted sufficiently promotes the licensing objectives, whether the promotion of the licensing objectives requires the application to be granted subject to conditions, or whether the application requires to be rejected because the licensing objectives cannot be met by the imposition of conditions. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much, Mr. Baller. Right, if anybody has got any questions, Mr. Baller, would you like to raise your hand, please, in the little raisey hand thing at the top?
Mr. Krishnapalli, have you got any questions over that?
Yes, sir. Because I'm doing this myself. It's not the agent. Sometimes it's a mistake. I missed the page, that one only. Yes, I'm asking the Indian cottage and the kebab shop. They are also happy to open the shop.
Okay, that's fine. But you'll get a chance to speak in a minute to give your side of the things. So what we're asking, is there any questions to what I've just said? And all I've done is give you an appraisal of where we are today and why we're here.
I see Councillor Redman has his hand up. Go ahead, Councillor Redman.
Thank you, Chair. Mr. Baller, could you just clarify for me that you now have all of the expected documentation and that it is as you would expect to see it, sir?
Yes, the applicant did submit the licensing objectives, which is required as part of the application process. But I do believe that the submitted objectives were not accepted by police licensing and the training standards.
Okay, so just for clarity, Chair, sorry, a follow-up to that. So my understanding is that the revised documentation has been received. You've passed that across to the objectors, and the objectors have not changed their position?
Correct.
Thank you.
Lovely. Any more questions for Mr. Baller? No. Okay. So now, Mr. Krishnapalli, it's your turn to speak about your application. Would you like to present to us down the phone, please?
Just because I am doing this myself. So we are new to England. It's just only 7 years. We are different language. We are learning a lot of things, and I'm happy to open that shop because we are do it. Everything is shop is proper shop fitting and everything good service and everything. Because something we miss it for that form only. Because I'm sorry for my limited English.
Okay, that's fine. Does anybody want to ask Mr. Krishnapalli some questions?
Yeah, from licensing.
Licensing, Mr. Baller, go ahead.
Mr. Krishnapalli, can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, I was just wondering, you've had the other store in North Street for less than a year now.
Yeah.
I'd just like to know how that's going. We've not received any complaints about that store, but
yes,
overall, are you managing that one okay?
Yes, we are do is a good service, and we not sell for any underage. We are challenge 25. No ID, no sales. Yeah, that is our policies.
Okay.
Nobody complain or nothing problem for this shop.
Yeah. I think it's just summarised the conditions of the shop that he's managing at the moment, Chair, which is challenge 25, no ID, no sale.
Yeah. Okay, lovely. Any other panel members got a question? Anybody else? Miss Cooper.
Thank you, Chair. Mr. Krishnapali, is there a shortened version of your name I could use today?
Yeah, Umesh. Hello?
Hello?
Yeah, say again.
Can I call you Mr. K?
Mr. Kai.
Don't worry. When you say you're doing this application yourself, did you
Yes.
consider getting someone to help you, like an agent?
No, that is only myself I'm doing. It's first time I'm doing it, but I'm not a agent or something. It's myself. That's why something mistake.
Right, okay, thank you.
Any other questions for the applicant, please? Councillor Redman and then Nigel Osborne.
Thank you, Chair. Sir, can I just clarify? So how long is it that you've had your licence?
Which one, sir? Is a promise of license or it's my personal license?
Yes, sir.
It's a nearly 8 months, sir.
Okay, so you've only had the licence regular. So the licence became valid when you purchased the property in North Street?
Yes.
And so did you have any experience of off licenses before then?
Yes, sir. 2 years normally I'm working as a petrol station, and the 2 years managed one shop I'm the manager at the Nottinghamshire. It's a spar shop.
Okay, and did you have a license there, or were you working under license of someone else?
No, yes, as a owner give it to authorized for selling alcohol.
Okay, just a bit of clarity. Obviously, it's your license, and with the new property, what plans would you have for your staff to have training in the appropriate measures to identify underage drinking, etc.?
Normally we are training for staff. We have some books at the Challenge 25 and the refusal books.
So it'll be your own training. You're not planning to get them to carry out any license or authorized training, sir?
Yes, sir. Because we are planning that is only working for that shop only English people, and who have a license is a promises license. They are only working for that shop, sir.
So under your current license, could you just remind me of the process? So in the current your current property in North Street, could you just remind me the process that you would use if you were suspect of the age of the person applying?
Yes. Say again, I don't understand. Say again, sorry.
Could you, so say for example, in your current premises where you are now, you've provided an indication of a list of challenges that you've made. You supplied that afterwards, and I was just wondering, so if someone came into the property that you were unsure of their age, looking to buy alcohol, what actions would you take? What would you do?
So first of all, we are challenging. We are look like younger. We are asking definitely his identity card. They show me identity, the sale. No ID, no sale, sir.
Okay, thank you, Chair. I think that'll do for now.
Okay, lovely. Anybody else got any questions for the applicant? Oh, Mr. Osborne, almost forgot you. Go ahead. And then Miss Cooper. Yeah, Miss Cooper afterwards. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. Mr. Krishnapali,
yes, sir.
You hear me?
Yeah.
Your application you submitted didn't contain any information in what we call the operating schedule, which explains how you will deal with the prevention of crime and disorder, public safety, prevention of public nuisance. And you sent in a document later on, which had been filled in saying how you would deal with those things. I have to say, it looks to me like you've copied that from some other premises, because it's fairly obvious that some of the matters contained in that notice relate to a pub. So it says things like install lobbies at the entrance and exit of the premises, install a sound limiter, things like that, which are more relevant to a pub. Where did that information come from?
Yeah, no. This is I'm writing for myself because I'm leaving that page. I'm thinking it's only pub things. After that, when this Nicola is a license officer came, they have said my fault. After that, I'm filling that form is myself. I'm not taking any pub or something. It's a little bit my ideas for that one.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, I've got Miss Cooper next, and then Jay Capel after that.
Thank you, Chair. Mr. Krishnapali, Councillor Redmond asked you at your current premises, what is your process if somebody looks underage? And you said that you asked for ID, no sale. Could you tell me, please, what ID would you accept?
It's a citizen identity, 18 plus, and the driving license and the passport.
So driving license, passport, and what was the other one, please?
And the citizen card.
Citizen card. Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Jay?
Sorry, Nicola's just asked the question that I was going to ask.
Okay, that's fine. Was there anybody else?
Yes. Could I ask a question?
Please do, Councillor Murphy.
Yeah, Mr. Krishnapali, when you have pubs next door to you, and of course under the present COVID situation, these pubs are being required to close early. Often we find that when we have pubs closing early, people drink more before they come out. Okay. How will you deal with people who come into your shop who are obviously drunk? How would you deal with that? What is your challenge, Mr. Krishnapali?
Yes, because we are it's more people coming for the night time, drunk people. We have planned that there's some security guard on the shops.
A security guard?
Yes.
At the night time?
Night time, because we are apply that as 6 to 12 p.m. on the license.
Yes.
But we sometimes we are closed the same time to pub time. It's 10 o'clock closing pub time. We also 10 o'clock closing. Otherwise, if busy time or night time is Friday, Saturday, we have planned that some security guard on the shop.
Thank you, Mr. Krishnapali. That's a fair answer.
Thank you.
Lovely. Councillor Redmond.
Forgive me, Chair, just coming back on the last statements, I think they're quite important. And I'd asked the applicant if he could just clarify. I think I heard that he gave an indication that during the week he would be planning to close at 10 o'clock or at the time appropriate when pubs were going to close. Was that correct?
Yeah.
Mr. Krishnapali, can you just confirm that
yeah.
you were going to close currently when pubs close?
Yes, it's something for difficult that situation. We get anything more drunk people coming more our shop. That's why we are saying is someone security guard, 2 people working on the shop. Any trouble or any time, all the time is problem. We are closed at the same time to pub time.
Yeah.
Sorry, so just for clarity, could you just say, so if what you're saying is you would not be looking to close early unless there were problems?
Yeah, no. Because we are register ourselves. Otherwise that's why I'm telling 2 things. Only close at the same time to pub, or we put it on some security guard staff.
Right. Ms. Cooper.
Thank you, Chair. Regarding security guards, you didn't put that on the application. Where are the security guards coming from? Are they going to be SIA registered?
That's why I told you. Is anything problem for anything for happen after we recruit on the security guard? Any security guard company?
Is that going to be every night after a certain time?
Saturday and Sunday.
It's a Friday, Saturday. Mostly.
Just on Friday and Saturday?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, any more questions for the applicant? No, super. Okay, now we're going to move on to the objectors. So we will start with you, Ms. Cooper, please. Would you like to present to us?
Yes, thank you, Chair. An application was received by us on the 5th of October for the grant of a new premises licence, 77B Bath Road, sale of alcohol Monday to Sunday, 06 until midnight. The application received seemed to be a scanned copy or a photograph of the application. There was no reference on the application to Sedgemoor District Council's statement of licensing policy, and it was immediately observed that what appeared to be Section K was missing. The Council's licensing policy specifically asks for positive proposals to be included on the application to promote the licensing objectives. And applicants are expected to have regard to the statement of licensing policy for their area. In order to give the applicant a fair chance, as soon as I received that application, I did visit him at his current premises of 32 North Street in Bridgewater after visiting the proposed premises, so that I could give him every opportunity to collate some of the information that I would require. So I advised him that his application was incomplete, and I showed him where the blanks were on the form and which sections needed further information. And I did advise him that I was unable to consider the application further without it. I subsequently received that information on the 30th of October. However, the additional information regrettably made little sense and appeared to have been copied from elsewhere, as they are not relevant to the premises, as Mr. Osborne has said, to install a sound limiter and acoustics were mentioned. The additional information submitted just appeared to be a list of words, much of which didn't make much sense, rather than positive proposals. And I had spent some time with Mr. Krishnapali explaining what was required. At that time, I gave him 3 weeks where he could have consulted with an agent if he felt that was needed. And I am concerned that there appears to be a continued lack of understanding, which is a cause for concern when considering anybody's application. It does not appear from my advice that he has researched the licensing objectives and what might be required at any new premises, nor the council's statement of licensing policy, which would have assisted him had he gone away and had a look at that. The submission, unfortunately, remains inadequate and makes little sense. I did visit, as I said, the current premises that he's applying for a licence at 77B Bath Road on the same day. It's currently an empty property, but I could easily view the premises through the windows. I'm aware that Mr. Krishnapali has not yet taken on the tenancy, as he is awaiting the grant of his premises licence. He advised me that he would not take on the premises unless the licence was granted. I do not think that there is currently a 24-hour CCTV system installed. The premises sits between 2 takeaways known as India Cottage and Kebab Kitchen, which do not sell alcohol. The grant of a licence to sell alcohol would indeed change the characteristics of the area and there are many considerations to be taken into account and addressed on this application. Point 94 of the Section 182 guidance states that there is no requirement for a responsible authority or other person to produce a recorded history of problems at the premises. And in fact, this would not be possible for a new premises such as this. However, it is located near to the Hinkley Point campus and also the college, where under 18s may attempt to purchase alcohol from the premises. There is also the possibility of drunk people attending the area for a takeaway after leaving late night venues, who would have the option of buying additional alcohol from this premises. No measures have been put forward on how crime and disorder will be prevented, nuisance, antisocial behaviour, selling alcohol to underage or intoxicated people, what accredited staff training will be in place to promote the objectives. The council would also wish to consider what measures are needed to protect nearby residential premises from additional noise, litter, parking generated by the premises and increased footfall. We feel that an off licence at this location with no measures in place to promote the licensing objectives would undermine all four and have a negative impact on the area. Having met with the applicant, I'm not confident that he understands the licensing objectives and our expectations based on the submissions so far. So unfortunately, on the basis of the application submitted and on behalf of the Chief Officer of Police, we have concerns in relation to the granting of this licence. Whilst we endeavour to support new and existing businesses, and even more so in these very difficult times, we believe that the granting of this licence, despite our help, would undermine the licensing objectives. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Ms. Cooper. That's very thorough. I'll start off, if there are any questions for Ms. Cooper, I'll start with the applicant, Mr. Krishna Pillai. Have you got any questions for Ms. Cooper?
Yes, Ms. Cooper.
Yes, she's there. Do you want to ask her a question? Very noisy in the back of you, Nicola.
I'm going to just, if you could excuse me, shut the door and have a quiet word.
Hello.
Hello, she's just shutting the door because it's very noisy where she is.
Okay.
Hang on 1 second and she'll be back. And then you can ask her a question if you'd like to.
We've got a job happening, so there's going to be more questions. Can you go someone else and shut the door and go out there? No, please thank you.
Sort them out.
Sorry.
Don't worry, she's back now. Mr. Krishna Pillai, have you got a question for Miss Cooper?
Yes, because Cooper is a I'm saying it's already a license officer. That is an empty shop. We are doing everything is a proper fittings. We have 24 CCTV and the fridges and everything. You say it is an Indian cottage and the kebab shops. They are also happy to open the shop. And the pub next to the pub. And the pub people to come to our shop is a drunk people. We're not allowed to the inside. We're not sell for the alcohol. And that area is saying no anything for the shops because there are so many people say it is small things. We want to go to Sainsbury on the 500 1 kilometer, I think so.
Okay, not really a question, but a statement.
Yes.
Does anybody else have any questions for Miss Cooper? Got no hands up? No? Okay, lovely. Another objector is Catherine Surtees. Catherine, would you like to go ahead?
Could I hand over to Jay Capel, please?
Please do.
Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chair. We obviously, as responsible authority, received the application for 77B Bath Road. Obviously the first thing we looked at was the operating schedule, which is a very important part of the application, and it should include all the information necessary to allow this service to assess whether the applicant is proposing appropriate steps to promote the licensing objectives. The main objective Trading Standard looks at is the protection of children from harm. We expect applicants to consider the risks in relation to protecting children from harm, and the risk must be assessed against preventing the sale of alcohol to youngsters under the age of 18. But in the case of such small retailers, especially this type of small newsagent, it should also include other age-restricted products that they might sell, such as tobacco products, e-liquids, lottery cards and tickets, magazines with adult content, DVDs and fireworks. We also have regard for the fact that the applicant is already required to comply with legislation in other areas, including the Licensing Act Mandatory Licensing Conditions Amendment Order 2010, which gives a set of mandatory conditions which are generally referred to in trading standards as implied conditions. This means these conditions are set in stone and they don't necessarily have to put them on the application. Because these mandatory conditions, the applicant may feel there is nothing else extra that they need to do to promote the licensing objectives. That order does say that a premise license holder must ensure that an age verification policy is implemented to prove the purchaser's age when attempting to purchase alcohol, but this also applies to other age restricted products as well. This means that as a minimum requirement, individuals who appear to the person serving the alcohol is to be under the age of 18, they have to produce on request appropriate identification, and the designated premise supervisor is responsible for ensuring alcohol is sold in accordance with that age verification policy. The order goes on to say that acceptable identification must have the holder's photograph, date of birth, and either a holographic mark or an ultraviolet feature. The examples are driving license, passport, military cards, or proof of age bearing the PASS scheme, which is the PASS hologram, and the applicant has said that he would accept those. I've got to say that this is not an exhaustive list, and there are other forms of ID which may be acceptable, but we don't recommend dates of birth. We don't recommend birth certificates and student cards. This service recommends a Challenge 25 age verification policy, but we would expect to also see, among other things, documented staff training, which is refreshed regularly, the refusals register, which is audited by the DPS, appropriate posters and statutory notices about age verification policy and about the legal sale of age-restricted products. This is, for example, the tobacco notice that you see behind counters when selling cigarettes. Just by way of explanation, a Challenge 25 policy is where anyone buying alcohol who appears to be below the age of 25, which is the 7-year age gap, is required, has to be asked to produce an acceptable form of ID. This in effect gives a 7-year margin of error. A refusal register is a refusal of age-restricted products and demonstrates that a business is actively refusing sales and can indicate what time underage people attempt to purchase age-restricted products such as holidays, evenings and lunchtimes. This service is aware that the applicant does not have to offer conditions given the implied conditions, but as a responsible authority we can disagree, and when this happens we will engage with the applicant, advising them of the legal requirements and recommended best practice to ensure children are protected from harm. We also take into consideration the type of business, the licensing activities to be provided, the location of the premises and the needs of the local community. The original application had no information appertaining to how the applicant was going to meet their obligations. All the sections were blank. An amended application was received on the 9th of October, and that's marked as Appendix A. And the applicant has written, age verification procedure used, underage sales of alcohol, definition of children, policy on clearing glasses to minimise opportunities for children to access alcohol, to access leftover alcohol. I've got to say that none of this makes sense, given there are no explanations to what these statements allude to, and having a glass clearing policy is more relevant to on-licensed premises such as public houses, clubs, and definitely not an off-licence. I appreciate that English is not the applicant's first language, but they appear to have a limited understanding of their obligations under the Licensing Act. I have to ask why he did not engage an agent to apply for this licence. As my colleagues and peers have already mentioned, other statements on the application also make no sense and were more appropriate to unlicensed premises. My colleague Mrs. Surtees contacted the licensing authority on the 9th of October, reference bringing the applicant's attention to the No Proof of Age, No Sale training toolkit. This is an interactive online toolkit aimed at businesses selling age-restricted products. The toolkit is tailor-made and is run and provided directly by Trading Standards South West. Currently, Devon, Somerset and Torbay Trading Standards pay for a business's first year subscription. This would normally cost £100 plus that for a two retail premise business. This toolkit provides interactive training for up to 100 members of staff, access to posters and notices, template refusals register, information about preventing underage sales and proxy sales, reminds the subscriber yearly to refresh staff training. This service will also pay up to 100. We will also pay for up to 100 subscribers. An email dated the 1st of November was received from the applicant saying that they had registered with the No Proof of Age toolkit and had kept aside a hard copy of the key information on the premises. I'm presuming that that is the SR News on North Street, for members of staff to have a complete understanding of the regulations. To date, the applicant has made inquiries but has not registered or subscribed to this package and would therefore be unable to gain access to a hard copy of the training. Although the premises would undoubtedly benefit the local community by providing a local convenience store, consideration should be given to its close proximity to Bridgewater College, where the majority of students would be under the age of 18. As already said by Nicola, it's between two takeaways where youths may gather, intoxicated people may gather for food and additional alcohol after the pubs have closed, and consideration should also be given to the impact these may have on local residents, for instance, noise, litter and antisocial behaviour. I have to say that I suspect that the takeaways are happy he's going to be there selling alcohol. It's going to bring more business to them, isn't it? There are no proposed measures in place to stop this from happening. Devon, Somerset and Torbay Trading Standards strategic plan for 2019 to 2013 is to protect consumers and communities and support economic growth and resilience. The service mission statement has 4 outcomes, and these include economic growth, to support and ensure a fair, responsible and competitive trading environment, to protect vulnerable consumers, and to ensure that communities are safer, better informed and more fully engaged with the work of this service, and to help people live healthier lives by preventing harm, promoting individual health and supporting the creation of a healthier environment. This service does not want to object to the granting of this licence, given that we wish to promote business growth, especially in these difficult times. But in this instance, this service has concerns about the meeting of the objective, protecting children from harm, especially given our strategic plans. Although there are implied conditions, I respectfully request the licensing committee consider adding conditions should they grant the licence. I would ask that one of the conditions include subscription to the No Proof of Age, No Sale training package, which would cover documented staff training. I have to say this may not always be available, but another training package would be relevant. A refusal register, which has to be audited by the DPS on a regular basis. I would suggest weekly. Implementation of the Challenge 25 policy. appropriate signage about the age verification policy and the legal sale of age-restricted products, and if possible, an electric point of sale system on the till, which will prompt the seller to request proof of age ID when presented with alcohol and other age-restricted products. All documents should be made available to the local authorities and police upon request. I have to say that Kathy did have a conversation with the applicants about signing up for the no proof of age package, and Kathy would be able to answer questions about that conversation.
Lovely. Thank you very much. Mr. Paula, I see your hand up first.
Thank you, Chair. I just want to ask Catherine if the applicant is now registered for the no proof of age, no sale training.
Okay, the latest information that I have is that the applicant has registered but hasn't actually partaken in the training. The conversation that I had with the applicant on the 4th of November in the morning went along the lines of the applicant telling me that he, his wife and 3 other members of staff at the shop had undertaken the training, but I have to say that I wasn't completely sure that the applicant was understanding the questions that I was putting to him. So although he told me that he had undertaken the training, there was some considerable amount of hesitation, and that's why I'm sharing that with you all now.
Okay, and can I just ask, the training site that you register, is there information that you can pull off and keep as like a hard copy for reference before you take the training?
Do you want me to answer that, Kathy?
Yes, please. Yes, please.
No, it's all done interactively via the computer. There's links to the posters where you can download posters, but Trading Standards Southwest, they actually keep the records of, and the documented training. We can ask for it to be pulled off, but it can't be pulled off by the subscriber.
Thank you very much.
Any other questions to either Catherine or Jay?
Chair, Councillor Redman.
Go ahead.
So, just for clarity, have we got any record of the applicant and his staff taking part in the training?
No. As Kathy's just given an update that they've actually subscribed, but they actually haven't signed in, as it were. So what you do when you register, you subscribe, then you would do the registration, and then you would put in how many members of staff that you want to use, and then they would tailor-make your package for you. So in this instance, it would be around all the other age-restricted products that he might sell within his shop.
Thank you for the clarification.
Any other questions for Jay or Catherine?
I think Councillor Murphy was maybe asking something.
I keep forgetting my microphone. My apologies. I would like to ask you, on the visits that you've made, particularly Catherine Surtees, have you made to this? Did you make a visit to the initial shop that he has? And if you did he have any signage that you saw?
I haven't visited the premises. I think earlier on in the meeting, Nicola Cooper said she had visited the premises. The only contact I've had with Mr. Krishna Pillai is on the telephone.
Well, thank you. Nicola, do you have anything? May I, Madam Chair, just proceed from one moment? Nicola, did you, when you visited the shop, did you visit the shop, first of all, the initial shop, the shop he's had for 4 months? Did you visit that shop?
Yes, I did.
And were there any signage in evidence? Was there any signage in evidence? No ID, no sale. Was there anything at all?
I think there was some signage which may have been left over from the previous owner. What concerned me was there wasn't any documented staff training, and there was no premises license displayed. I asked Mr. Krishna Pillai about this, and he said he'd only just taken over the shop, but he'd actually had it for 6 months.
Yeah.
And he wasn't challenging people that weren't wearing masks. and I did have concerns over his lack of understanding, which is why I visited quite early on to advise him.
Thank you, Nicola.
Any other questions? Okay, I think this is time for a bit of summing up. If anybody else has got anything to say, so I'll just run through you all and then we'll move on. So firstly, Mr. Baller, have you got anything else you'd like to say in the summing up?
Thank you, Chair. I'm slightly confused by Nicola's statement, in as much as would she be happy with certain conditions being applied to the license? I know it's a question to Nicola more than anything.
That's fine.
No, as I've put on my representation, the concern is that I am not convinced that Mr. Krishnapali understands the basics of what is required. And I just feel that he may not understand a list of conditions. I do not think it would allay our concerns at all. Otherwise, I would have tried to do some work towards that. He's mentioned a CCTV system, but no submissions have been put forward. That within these submissions, there's some pricing on shutters. Again, it doesn't give any indication of the address and what these are for. And I am concerned that he understands the basics of the 4 licensing objectives, and conditions aren't going to really rectify that situation. I think he needs to apply the advice to his current premises and run that for some time before this application could be considered, and undertake the training that's been recommended to.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Krishnapali, have you got anything else you'd like to say before we make a decision?
No, miss.
No. Okay, super. Nicola?
No, thank you.
Catherine?
No, thank you.
Jay?
I would just like to add that the Licensing Act, Section 164, gives trading standards and the police permission to conduct test purchasing, which is where we send underage volunteers in to buy alcohol. And should one of these volunteers buy alcohol, legal proceedings may be taken. However, this Act also supplies a defence against prosecution if a business can demonstrate that all due diligence has been exercised. And putting these conditions on will help towards the due diligence defence and will assist best practice.
Thank you. Mr. Osborne, have you got anything else you'd like to say?
No, thank you, Chair.
Panel members? No.
Chair,
Okay.
sorry, Councillor Evans, sorry to be a little bit. Could I just go back to the applicant, Krishnapali? I forgot to ask a question when I had the opportunity before about some of the evidence you provided. Mr. Krishnapali, just to double check, I've got on record as part of my application a copy of your challenges made record.
Yeah.
I'm assuming that that document is from your current premises.
Yes.
Could I just clarify? Is that the only sheet that you have, or were there other sheets other challenges that are not been that are in addition to this one?
Say again, sir.
The question I'm asking is that the only record? Is that the only copy? The only you've got one sheet of challenges made since you opened the premises?
Yes, I got 2-3 sheets. Just
sorry,
only I've sent it for. I have one book, sir. I'm sending it for just one copy for.
So it's just one. Yeah. It's just to clarity. It's just one page of challenges, sir.
No, I have one book. It's when I get the shop, I have all. That's a full book.
Okay, so
challenges.
I would suggest then that being the case, do you have a copy of your application that you submitted near you, sir? Mr. Krishnapalli, do you have a copy of the documents that you've submitted?
Yes.
And can I draw your attention then to the document with the title "Challenges Made"?
Yeah.
Have you got that with you?
Yes, I have.
Could you just give me I know I'm assuming the top two are practice ones. Could you give me the dates of the next three, please, that the challenges were made?
You're asking for that book. Challenge Match. It's reversal book.
So just for clarity, when part of the application pack that we've been given shows an example of your challenges made record.
Yes.
And I was just wondering if you could give me it appears to me that the fifth challenge was made in May 2020.
Yeah.
And then the next one was September 2020.
When is the license officer came our shop, they are taking one photo for that one. It's challenge match. If you want to ask the Nicola.
So thank you very much for your time. That's sufficient. Thank you, Chair.
Super. Thank you very much. Okay, this is the time of the meeting that the panel and myself and the legal team and our manager, Steve Taylor, will leave this meeting to go into a separate meeting to discuss the outcome, and we will return when we have made our decision. So give yourself some time, go make a cup of tea, and we'll see you shortly. Thank you. Hello all, we're back. Those of you who aren't muted, could you please do so? That would be great.
Chair, do you want me to just check that the applicant's still on the
Yes,
line?
please.
Hello, Mr. Krishnapalli. Are you still there?
Yes, sir. Yeah.
Brilliant. Excellent. Okay, so the panel are back and they're going to make their decision now. Okay.
Okay, sir.
Lovely, thank you all. Now they knock on the door. Licensing and Gamble panel today, 19th of November 2020. This is the decision notice. The Licensing and Gambling panel has been asked to consider an application for a premises license for the new premises known as 77B Bath Road, Bridgewater, Somerset, following objections from Avon and Somerset Police and Devon, Somerset and Torbay Trading Standards. The panel has considered all the evidence presented by the applicant and objectors, both in person and in writing. The panel's decision was made in accordance with the Council's Statement of Licensing Policy, the Secretary of State's guidance, and current case law. The application, as submitted, is for the sale and supply of alcohol off the premises between the hours of 0600 to midnight, 7 days a week, from a convenience store. Both the government guidelines and Council's policy stress that each application should be considered on its merits. Consequently, whilst the panel is aware that Mr. Krishnapalli already holds a personal licence and premises licence, that in no way detracts from the need for the current application to be scrutinised in accordance with the legislative, never say that, requirements, and to promote the licensing objectives. To that end, the application fails. The panel shares the concerns of the police and trading standards that the application, as originally submitted, did not promote the licensing objectives. The submission of the additional information does not progress the application a great deal forward, it being painfully apparent that the steps proposed were cut and pasted from other inappropriate licence, such as a pub. Section 8.41 of the government guidance requires applicants in completing an operating schedule to demonstrate that they understand the layout of the local area and the physical environment, including crime and disorder hotspots, proximity to residential premises, and proximity to areas where children may congregate, together with positive proposals to mitigate the risks. Unfortunately, this application does not reflect this understanding. Under section 8.47, applicants are expected to provide sufficient information to determine what extent their proposed steps are appropriate to promote the licensing objectives. Applications must not be based on a set of standing conditions. Again, the applicant's application is significantly lacking in its requirement. In this panel's opinion, that this application demonstrates that the applicant is ill-equipped, lacking adequate knowledge and unprepared to manage this licensed premises, which is unfortunate given that he has run a similar convenience store in Bridgewater for the last 4 months without incident. However, the panel is required to consider each case on its merits, and with this application it is apparent that the applicant has little understanding of the potential risks posed from the sale of alcohol in this location, nor how to counter them and to promote the licensing objectives. The panel found the submissions by the Trading Standards and Police to be significant and persuasive. Both authorities identified significant shortcomings in the application and the lack of substance to the proposals for promoting the licensing objectives. It is the applicant who must define both the extent and the limits of the licence applied for by the information he gives in the operating schedule, and to that end the applicant's application is found to be seriously wanting. From his presentation, it is apparent that the applicant has some understanding for Challenge 25 and the risks associated with the sale of alcohol. Unfortunately, he has failed to adequately articulate those risks and the means by which they will be addressed in his application. It is the belief of the panel that with professional support, many of the concerns of the panel and the objectors could be overcome and a licence could be issued, albeit with significant conditions. Consequently, the panel is not satisfied from the evidence presented that the application adequately promotes the licensing objectives, and therefore the application for the sale and supply of alcohol is refused. Thank you.
That concludes today's panel.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, everyone.
Chair.